Good morning, you guys, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to another edition of Get It, Got It Good. I am your host, Naja Wilhite Carter, and today we have Michael H. Forde with us. But you guys, the fun thing about this, and I'm really excited about this, because Michael, you haven't done things traditionally. You're still a baby, and yes, I call people babies. You're still a baby. Yeah, you graduated early, then you went on to college, and then you went on to doctorate, get your doctor's degree, right? Uh, and yet, you're not even in your 30s yet, are you?
I'm not.
I didn't think so. And in addition to that, you have a little bit of, or I should say, a lot of inside knowledge when it comes to this COVID um, 19 thing. So I definitely want to get into all of that. But you guys, before we start, I definitely have to take the time out to thank my sponsors, as always. That is Dance Solutions Youth Outreach, Mission Dance Works, One Man Sharpens Another, Merlin Prep Academy, and of course, both of the networks, which are Total Entertainment Radio and WBGR. You guys, Nail Fetish is back open in East Baltimore, so definitely go check her out. Shout out Kara, the Nail Vixen. So, Michael, before we get started, let's take a brief break so that way we don't have to do it later, because I definitely want to jump in and talk with you. Deal?
Um, Deal.
Welcome to TLO. If you know, you know. Coming soon, different sponsorships and investment opportunities for all brands, musicians, influencers to join the company and create this community and also make money from your craft. So if you want to join the movement, check out our space and see what more we have to offer. In this space, we're going to be holding our weekly modeling classes as well as our shoots.
Models, go sign up, link in the bio.
Along with that, we have a facility that can accommodate whatever you need. Here at TLO, we want to create a community and a space where all brands and all creators, influencers, musicians, talents to grow and build their business, not only with content, but also with wealth. So join the movement today and subscribe.
Welcome back, you guys. Thank you for still being with us. Michael, so you are from New York. What part of New York?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, New York.
Kings
Okay.
County.
So you are from New York. You went to school, but when most people graduate at the age of, I graduated at 17, but that's usually because my birthday's late and I started early, right? Most people graduate at 18. Can you tell the people what age you graduated at?
Yeah, I graduated high school at 16. And I still remember it because when I was getting ready for graduation, a lot of high schoolers, sophomores and juniors were coming in. They are thinking like, hey, this guy's going to be in our class. But I was actually on the outbound direction. So yeah, it was a really great experience just to have been able to do that.
So how do you do that? Do you take classes all year long so that way you get ahead? Do you get skipped ahead because you tested out? How does that work?
That's the funniest thing. Actually, people don't even know this. I think this is the first time I'm saying this to anybody, but I actually repeated and I still graduated young because when I was in Brooklyn, I was like 4 years old in the first grade. Okay. My mom had a connection with a sister friend of hers. And so we had done the pre-K thing. By the time I was in pre-K, I was in first grade. But we ended up moving from Brooklyn to North Carolina. And so when I moved to North Carolina, I was like 5 or so, and they wanted me to repeat the first grade. And then, there's so many complications. So my mom actually pulled me out of school, and I was homeschooled until let's say about 6th grade. And then from 6th grade to 8th grade, I was in a private school. Then for high school, what I did, I ended up going to a middle college or an early college. That's what they call it nowadays. So I actually did community college credits and high school at the same time. So that's how I was able to graduate early. So it'd be like, I would have my normal uh, community college semester, my normal college semester with like three, 3 or 4, college classes, but then I'll have like 2 high school classes on top of that. So the college classes would give my high school credits, that
Credits.
way, and then I would just do everything else as normal. So yeah, like the college that I was going to had an agreement with the high school. So yeah, I could take like a PE class, but it'd be like like a exercise 101 type of class, and I'd still get my high school credit and my college credit at the
College
same time.
credits. So you were double dipping.
Yeah, double dipping in the sauce. I was swimming.
But that's really smart because it allows you to experience both worlds. What would you say to people who say, okay, you're so young, you're 16. What about the ability to just vibe with other 16-year-olds and grow up with other 16-year-olds? Did you miss out on anything that typically would have happened during your high school years because you were double dipping?
That's so it's interesting because a lot of my high school experience was older was always with older individuals. So to a degree I did, but at the same time, the cool thing was I was still in high school. So there were 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds that I would hang out with. So I built those relationships outside of school. And I was still able to like go bowling on the weekend, go out to eat with my friends. But I would say that I probably didn't have your normal 16-year-old lifestyle only because most of the people who I did associate with were older than me. So, having fun was more like, we're going to try to see what analytical research we can do, or like I would end up always doing the quote unquote nerdier things, like trying to build a computer or trying to like understand how certain scientific things worked. So yeah, it was definitely a different experience.
Yeah, but I guess it's a perspective as far as what you want as your experiences.
Yeah.
Building a computer versus did you go to any homecomings or proms? I don't know. You know what I
I
mean?
did go to prom. I did go to prom.
Oh,
I couldn't miss out on that. I said no matter how much I get, to the double dipping, I cannot miss out on prom. So it's funny because I almost missed it. Because first of all, I didn't have anyone to go with. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna go. But the main reason too is because like there everyone was always making the plans, and I was just so laid back because I was really uncertain as if I was gonna go. Like, is this really my thing? And if it wasn't for my parents and my friends who worked together to persuade me to go, I probably wouldn't have gone. But I went, and it was amazing.
see, that sounds like my story. I'm so laid back. Even when it came to my wedding, I was like, yeah, well, whatever. Like, I'll show up. Y'all just do anything. I wasn't like that. Okay,
Right.
so then you graduate
Mhm.
at 16.
Mhm.
Did you walk the stage cap and gown, and then you went back to college? So when you were double dipping, did that give you a AA? Like, how did that work?
So actually, yeah. So I did the high school graduation cap and gown. The high school did that actually in the community college's auditorium. Um, and when it came to graduation, I actually didn't graduate with a certain degree. I hindsight's 2020, but I think it's because my credits were very all over the place. So it wasn't like I had
General.
a specific degree in an associate science or associate arts in boom 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 or whatever you would call it. So because I wanted to do healthcare and build up like a pre-med type of background. So for me, it was more about taking certain classes and prereqs so that when I would go to the normal 4-year university, I wouldn't have to worry about taking those things, those starter classes.
So right now, I have kids that don't know what they want to be. You're 16 and you knew what you wanted to be. You wanted to be in the healthcare industry or, all of that. What made you decide at such an early age which direction in life you wanted to go?
So I laugh because some people agree with this individual I'm about to speak about. He's well known. Um, he went from being in medicine, now he's in politics. He looks like us. His name is Dr. Ben Carson. And when I was very young, I think it was about probably anywhere from age, 10 to 12, I saw a PBS documentary and I was like, man, this is cool that this African American individual really made a name for himself. And I said that if he can do it, I could do it too. So my thing was, I knew that I wanted to be somebody who represented a representation of color in the healthcare system. I wanted to be someone who could say that these things are possible. It is possible to make it, quote unquote, because everyone has an idea of what it is to really make it. But for me, what it means to make it is just, can I go to be a leader in my field and not look like everyone else, because that's how sometimes the ball rolls. So yeah, that's actually what got me started into wanting to go into health, to be honest. And then plus, when I was growing up in North Carolina, I happened I happened to be one of the only Black individuals in a lot of my classes, and a lot of my when I did volunteering at hospitals in the summer. So these things kind of made me say like, hey, I want to be that guy who, although he may not look like everyone else, he still has what it takes to, have that footstep in diversity and say to others who look like me, hey, come on down. I'm sending the elevator down so you can come join me at the top. So
Indeed, and I actually want to go more into that because, as we know, there are a lot of underlying currents that can help or prevent you. And so I want to find out about the struggle or the steps that you had to take, the people that you had to network with, and some of the obstacles or advantages that you may have had in going to the top, so that way you can help bring other people up. But first, we have to take a little break. Now that we've learned a little bit about your background, I definitely want to go more into what you're doing now. Okay. So you guys stay with us. We will be right back. All right, you guys, welcome back. We are still here with Michael Forde. So, Michael, we just talked about you graduating at the age of 16, going to college, and going into that pre-med type of field. So, what was the degrees that you got that enabled you to then go and work for NAIH, oh my God, National Allergies, whatever. I can never get that right. I hate letters.
I couldn't get it right for the first 6 months either, so it's all right. But NIAID, but National Institutes of Health. Yeah, so
An allergy and disease or something, right?
yeah, allergy and infectious diseases. So fun fact, right? The National Institutes of Health actually has 27 different institutes. So like you have your National Eye Institute, you have like your National Institute for Digestive and Diabetic Diseases, you have like your National Institute for Children and Childhood Development. So you have these different institutes. So I work at the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases. That's the institute that has the main COVID-19 focus. Because COVID is a viral disease, a virus. So for me to even get to this point, I definitely had to do a lot of classes or degrees that focused on not just healthcare, but public health. So you asked me a question earlier on about how did I know that healthcare was for me. So I always knew healthcare was for me due to the fact that every time I volunteered at a hospital, every time I was talking to people or shadowing people, every time that I was, really exposed to the element of healthcare, I fell in love with it. I started out as pre-med, but I ended up in public health because along the journey, there was a significant difference where, medicine is more focused on that one-on-one patient interaction, where you come in with your symptoms, you come in with what you have, and I try to fix that. But public health is like, we're not even there yet. We're trying to prevent all those things from happening. So we work on, how do we keep you healthy at home? How do we focus on preventative medicine? So that's really the difference between medicine and public health, where medicine is we wait until you get sick and then we treat you. Public health is preventative medicine. How do we prevent you from becoming sick? And so to get to that point, I just, I did my bachelor's in health science, actually. And I did my master's in public health. And the doctoral degree that I'm doing right now is also in public health. And the journey to the NIH, I mean, to be honest, I really believe to this day it's a God-given gift, because I applied, and is a testimony of how I was able to get there. I just kind of shot my shot, and it just happened to make it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that is such a great lesson, though. So many people, they would never select me. I could never get it. But why not just try? And look what happened.
Exactly. So I just shot my shot, and so that's the lesson to anyone watching. Just shoot your shot, take the chance, because if you just sit back and you think to yourself that you don't have what it takes, or you're waiting for the perfect time, you don't know what opportunities you might miss. So.
Okay, so with this COVID thing going on and everything, there's people with mixed emotions about the systems that are in place. So is there a big difference besides missions between the public health side and the medicine side? Because if you think about it, and the way that it's funded and the way that the income comes in, there could be a whole bunch of ethical, moral, and all kinds of dilemmas if you think about it. So depending on who's at top, what pushes what? And is there a divide or like a tug of war between the preventative side and the people who, pharmaceutical side maybe, who make the money off of illnesses?
Yeah, this is a good question too, because, so let's start here. At the end of the day, we have public health officials right now working on COVID, right? These public health officials are going to Congress to testify, to discuss what's going on. These are the leaders who have the best say-so.
Like Dr.
Fauci.
Fauci, who you work under him, right?
Yes, Dr. Fauci. He leads the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. So you have individuals like him who, from the CDC, from the FDA, people who are on the top. Now they are the experts, the leading experts discussing like what's really going on, and Congress and other U.S. government officials learn about what's going on. But the decisions are really made at it's almost like a tunnel down version, where the U.S. government kind of sets in play protocols based on like what Dr. Fauci and other people say, but then it kind of funnels down to now state leaders. That's why if you look at Florida is handling the situation a lot differently than New York and a lot differently than DC, right? So how state leaders respond, now this is where it gets interesting. You have the people on the top, like Dr. Fauci, and the people who've been telling you, hey, this is what should happen. And then you have the people who are the doctors. Every day they're working, having to deal with these things, and they might not necessarily agree with the people at the top or the people in the state officials. So now, going back to the original question, yes, you do have sometimes a discord between how leaders want to implement things and how the people on the front line, like our doctors, our nurses, want to do things. But then you brought up the pharmaceutical industry. So I don't necessarily at this point have a lot of data and research on that, but I do know that based on history always repeats itself, right? That's all we have to say. So there is a chance that the pharmaceutical industry individuals might be handling the way they move might be different. So I mean, it's just so many things to be aware. We have a lot of gears in motion, but I think the biggest thing we could look at right now is, if anyone looks for guidance, we should look for, guidance from public health officials. But also, if you're in doubt, A lot of us are. We don't always believe what people say. I would say always do your own due diligence, do your research, and just make sure that everything is fact checked. Yeah.
So when you say that, because there's so much information from everywhere and therefore there's multiple mixed messages, what are some of the resources that you suggest that people go to do their own due diligence?
Yeah, so I'll name my top favorite three. Number one, CDC.gov. CDC is the public health agency that tracks and controls infectious diseases. So they're like your go-to source. If you, especially with coronavirus, if you have any questions or concerns, I would go to CDC.gov first. And if you're skeptical, it's okay. So I have to tell people it's okay to be skeptical because it's just a human thing in human nature. Just because someone says something, they still want to do their own research, which I suggest you do. PubMed.gov, PUBMED.gov. It's a website where the latest research is published in peer-reviewed journals and things like that, so you can actually see the research in its pure form before it's even broken down to CDC.gov and other websites. And then the last website I would say is NIH.gov. That's a plug. I work there, but they also do the latest biomedical research, and it's broken down into the 27 different institutes, so you can always know the latest and what's going on.
So those are all great resources. Is there anything about COVID that you know or that you feel? Because a lot of times people think the numbers are fixed or pumped up or made to be extremely high as a motive to really push the agenda of the vaccines and things like that. So what are your feelings on COVID, considering you work in the NIH?
Sure. I think for me, obviously, I know it's real, and I believe it's real, not just because the NIH said it's real, the CDC said it's real, other public officials. I've actually had family members who've gotten it, as close as my uncles and friends in New York. So, and even know people who have lost their lives due to COVID. So, for me, my feelings about the whole situation is the research that's being done really is to try to make sure that we can get the best outcome. But in terms of like fixed numbers and things like that, which people do believe, to address that, I would say it's not really impossible if you think about it to have those high numbers, because you're taking into consideration people who may be positive for the virus, but they're not showing symptoms.
Mm-hmm. So like on some of the things, like when people pass away because of a heart attack or a stroke or something, and they test positive for COVID post-mortem, then those will be chalked up as a COVID mortality versus a heart attack. Like, how do they, for later, for like after we get out of this, how do like the cancer or heart disease and stuff then go back and quantify how many deaths were in 2020 based on heart attacks or cancers or stuff like that, if everything's being marked down as COVID?
So I think right now so that's actually one of the conflicts. We've had this for months now, where let's say there's a patient, as you said, that has like heart disease or cancer, and when they pass away, we found out that they actually had COVID. How do we know it was COVID that caused their death and not the heart disease or the cancer? So I'm aware of the fact that a lot of these post-mortem studies do their best to make sure that the people who were labeled as succumbing to COVID, that this is actually what they succumb to. Or like, for instance, I know of a case where, an individual had heart disease, and their heart disease was probably at one of the most late stages. But when you're looking at what happened, the COVID kind of put the body of that patient in a more toxic position, a stressful position. And that probably made their symptoms worse. Because that's what happens in a lot of cases with individuals who have other diseases like pneumonia or, kidney disease, where the COVID, you may have COVID, but your body is not reacting in a really good way. And so whatever pre-existing condition you have is made worse. So The best way to answer that question is that I just know that the researchers do, when they do the postmortem, they make sure that the COVID was the death was as a result of the COVID. Because if that person never had COVID, they may have still passed away. Unfortunately, it may not have happened as soon.
Yeah. It may have been 6 months, 12 months, another 2 years, but the COVID put the extra stress on it, which just accelerated the process. So definitely, I want to get more into how something like this happens in a public arena. How do you go from research of an infectious disease to it's spilling over? And I know you got to have both extremes. Like there's a thin line with scientists as far as studying and preventing and then handling a situation like this. So you guys stay with us. We will be right back.
Research suggests that close to 50% of all small businesses go out of business in their first 2 years. Don't let that be you. Join That's My Network LLC today. Here at That's My Network, we strive to help businesses build their brand by offering connections to multiple marketing streams, including promotion across a social media platform that has a growing following of 50,000 nationwide. Let us help build and develop your brand to reach its full potential. For more information, email that'smynetwork@gmail.com. That's My Network, a network that works for you.
Okay, you guys, welcome back. We are here with Michael Forde, public health expert to me because, you know, I don't know any of this stuff. A worker at the NIH, and we are talking COVID right now. So COVID is something that has been around for a long time. It's something that has been studied for a long time, correct? It's not a new thing. It's just, you know, as scientists, you research it in labs, you figure out how it moves, how it infects other things, how it grows, develops, and things like that. And the reason for that, just like with any other virus or strain or whatever, is so that way you can create preventatives so that way it doesn't become a pandemic, right? So then how does something go from the laboratory into the general public and become a pandemic? And then how do or what are the requirements of the NIH to then respond to it and, you know, kind of get us out of this mess?
Yeah, so well, let's start here. COVID in the sense of coronavirus has been around for a long time. Coronavirus, fun fact, it's actually one of the viruses that can cause your common cold. The common cold sometimes is caused by a rhinovirus, but coronaviruses, at some time in your life, you probably had a cold caused by a coronavirus. Now, if you want to think of COVID in that sense, yes, but COVID-19, or the strain of COVID that we're experiencing now, this is something that is newer. This one has not been, studied in the labs since like 2012 or 2015. It's something that became evident, due to the worldwide spread. Now, in terms of the origin of the disease, there were some people who said that it originated from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. There's some people who said that it was created intentionally. There's some people who said that it came from bats or it's a zoonotic disease caused by animals. Currently, what we're saying is that the disease did originate from an animal, zoonotic, but to say that it started in a laboratory or otherwise, I don't have the grounds to say that based on research. But as I always tell you, I want people to always make sure that they look at sources that not only are relevant, but are respectable in their accuracy. But going back to the NIH's disposition in all of this, the best way, right, to ensure that we are attacking this disease and attacking this virus is to do these three things. Number one, ensure that the public gets the most relevant information. I don't know if you remember, but when we started social distancing, everyone was just saying social distancing, social distancing, social distancing. And not a lot of people knew what that meant. You and I may have known what it meant, but people really thought, does this mean I can't talk to you? You know,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not even joking. I had a grandmother who said that she believed social distancing was the absence, like abstinence of talking to her granddaughter. Like she was not allowed to call anybody. She had to stay at home, you know.
It's a new concept for many people. It's not something that we've had to live through before.
Exactly. So we even had this. So now the World Health Organization and even the CDC had to come out and say what we mean is physical distancing and explaining that. So the first thing I would always say is just making sure the NIH has the job and responsibility to make sure the information is always accurate and understandable, digestible, plain language, right? The second thing is to always make sure that the research is ongoing. So we actually had this study. Oh, you might have heard of hydroxychloroquine. There's this thing that, it's typically used for um, patients who have lupus or um, other problems and diseases, but it was touted as being this cure fix all for coronavirus. Now there is no cure for coronavirus, but there are treatments. So for those who are interested in the difference between the two, a cure means that you no longer have the problem. A treatment means that you have the problem, but it's not as bad or doesn't feel as bad as it did before. So
So an analogy it would be like AIDS,
yeah,
right?
okay.
You have treatments that kind of suppresses it and allow you to live for years and years and years versus a cure, which means you no longer have it in your bloodstream at all. Okay, cool. Keep going.
That's yes. So basically, we just want to make sure that we're doing the ongoing research. We just had a trial at the NIH that ended recently, and it was a trial to see if hydroxychloroquine could be working as an effective treatment for COVID. But the trial stopped. And the reason the trial stopped is because the results were that although, you know, doctors across the country might be using this drug as a treatment, it's not as effective
As opposed to what?
as it's supposed to, some of the other antivirals that are being used right now to treat COVID. Off the top of my head, there are things like might not even say the drug correctly, so I'm not even going to pronounce it because there are antivirals out there that are being used to treat COVID. Hydroxychloroquine is not as effective as some of those other drugs, some of those other treatments. So the NIH decided it'd be best to continue our research, but let's find other things because we still need to find something that can work. Right now, they're working on the COVID-19 vaccine, but the way they're approaching it is, although we're working on a plan A, we want to make sure we have a plan B, C, and D just in case.
Indeed. My father always taught me that. Have multiple options.
Just in case. Because right now we're not sure exactly when we're going to have a vaccine, and that's the biggest thing people are concerned about. But the point is to always make sure that research is always ongoing. And the third thing the NIH is doing is making sure that the connection of information is not only, as I said, valid and accurate, but it's also allowing other people to be involved. So there are clinical research studies right now that are having people join on board. So like if you happen to have COVID, or if you thought you had COVID, like everyone was like, oh, in January, I thought I had COVID. Yeah, I was sick. I had the worst fever
Yeah.
of my life, things like that. Well, NIH actually has studies right now that if you believe you had, COVID, or if you actually have COVID, you can enroll in the studies to help with the research, and that all helps us get the ball rolling.
So, would you take a COVID vaccine personally?
So we're going to assume that this vaccine will not only treat but prevent. And if this was the way it was, yes, I would. So I know where you're going, kind of. I think I know where you're going, but there are a lot
I
of
was just asking. Hey.
there are a lot of people in the community that have this anti-vaccine approach, or they might not be, especially, a lot of people naturally might not trust government related things. So it's like, would you take the first COVID-19 vaccine? Because I PubMed.gov and also clinicaltrials.gov, I can actually see how the vaccine had effects on other people. I would use that information and I would take it. Now, if I, for some reason, whatever reason, was uncomfortable with the research that was done, and I don't think that, things were appropriate, I wouldn't take it. But then again, you're talking about the NIH here, and they make sure that they, you know, they take several steps before they even put anything out. And I'm not just saying this because I work there, but I'm also a skeptic. I don't just, believe things because someone says it. I always like to look things up for myself. So yes, I would take it. Yeah. But I would also, look into things like side effects and how many people have taken this drug before. What's their sample size? Because if it's just one person that took it and you're like, it works, I'm not taking it. But obviously, as I said, at the NIH, they don't do that. So
It's a lot to consider, though, right?
there's a lot to consider. There definitely is a lot to consider.
So for the average person, what are some of the, because these mixed things started in a lab, started with animals, blah blah blah. Also, goes across the line of wear a face mask, don't wear a face mask, is healthy, is not healthy for you, drink hot water, take zinc, whatever the case may be. So we're gonna take one last break, you guys, and then we're gonna come back with some possible at-home remedies, see if they work, they don't work, the validity of it. So you guys stay with us, we'll be right back.
My name is Michael Forde, and I'm currently a public health professional living in the DMV area. I'm an author. Just wrote a new book, Success Begins From Where You Are, and I'm really proud of the fact that I could just talk about what positivity means to me. This book was actually written and designed to inspire people and motivate people just to be better. The book itself has a lot of valuable content, and I break down what I believe to be some simple steps to guide people to success. There's an idea sometimes that people believe that success is only given to a certain amount of people. You might be born to be successful, you're born to be a leader. But when I say creativity exists in all of us, that means you have the potential to be great. Everyone is born with the potential to be great. It's not limited to a certain person by their race, their color, their gender, but it's about what you have inside of you and what you can do with what you have inside of you. If you plant a seed, you don't know what you get until you get the product, but when you see the product, it's something that you didn't have before, and every one of us has that product inside of us. It's just waiting to be released. Too many times in life, we get discouraged by not being able to reach the top, not being able to dream our dreams and fulfill those goals that we have so long wanted to fulfill. My goal for this book is just to encourage people and to let them know that you are not alone on this journey, that it takes greatness to reach your goals, and you have that greatness already, so all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other and to keep moving forward. This book, Success Begins From Where You Are, is all about how you can take things to the next level. It's not long at all, it's very simple. But what I like about it is that it lists the simple steps that you need to take it to the next level, to be more, to do more. This book is currently being sold on Amazon.com. You can look it up by typing in Success Begins From Where You Are. You can follow me on social media on all platforms at Michael H. Forde.
Welcome back, you guys. We are still here with Michael Forde, and we are talking COVID. And like I said before we went on our last commercial break, Michael, there are so many mixed messages. And I want to know from your perspective, what do you think about some of these messages? For example, wearing of the mask and how they first say it can prevent the spread, but it really doesn't prevent the spread, or it's not for them, it's for you, or vice versa. You're breathing in your own toxins and you shouldn't wear it all the time. So the mask, what is this thing with the mask?
Yeah, so the mask according to the CDC, because they put out the official guidance, but the mask is really designed not to protect you as much as it is to protect the other person. Now, if two people are wearing a mask, you kind of have this protection going both ways, because if I sneeze and the other person is wearing a mask, there's still a good chance those droplets might enter like the nasal cavity through the mask, or might go on the side of their face and somehow drip into falling like into your oral cavity or nasal cavity. But
Eyes.
the thing about it is, um, the chances of that happening if I'm wearing the mask and I'm sneezing, it's a lot less likely than if I'm not wearing a mask. So there's this actual graphic online that if anyone wants to look up, they can just say, you know, wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask, bacteria culture. There's this image where it shows you actually like the amount of bacteria or viral, the particles that come out when you sneeze and you wear a mask versus when you sneeze and don't wear a mask, and how that looks. So it really is designed to really protect the other person. And so if everyone is wearing it, everyone's kind of protecting each other, if that makes sense. So it's a weird way to think about it, because everyone's thinking, oh, I'm protecting myself, but you're really protecting others from getting that spit in your face, you know?
Well, maybe we should wear it all of the time, because some people just can't talk without spraying you anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what about some of the at-home remedies? Like it stays in your throat for several days. Therefore, if you rinse it down with like hot water, sip on hot water with lemon, or if you take immunity boosters like apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon a day or something like that.
Mhm.
Apple a day, who knows? Just
Yeah.
some at-home things.
So a lot of things that are your normal like cold killers or cold fighters, flu killers, flu fighters can be used. But as I said before, and I'll say it again just to make sure I'm clear, there's a difference between the treatment and the cure. So these remedies are not meant to cure. If you feel like you're cured, most likely what happened is that the treatments provided a lot of relief to the point where you're psychologically thinking that it has left your body. But there are people who have been treated, you know, or tested for COVID, and while they're feeling great, they feel like they've overcome the virus, they're still testing positive. But not to digress, going back to the point, you know, let's talk about ginger teas. Okay.
Okay.
Ginger teas, you know, great way for helping boost the immunity of your body. Because at the end of the day, anything that you could really use to boost your immune system, you can never go wrong with boosting your immune system, because the virus, when it enters your body, your immune system is going to be trying to respond. So I just think about it like this: the stronger your immune system is, the better chances of it fighting any foreign invader. That's a fact.
Yep.
So vitamin C, they're fruits with vitamins. Strawberries, I know, fun fact, strawberries actually have more vitamin C than oranges. So
Really?
eat your strawberries, yeah. Eat your strawberries, your oranges, your grapefruit. Pineapple's a source of vitamin C. You could take your vitamin C, you know, vitamins, vitamin C tablets, sorry.
Yeah.
Vitamin C vitamins. Take your vitamin C tablets. Echinacea is a really good source. Those tablets as well. Multivitamins. But you know, ginger tea, you could do like you know, a grapefruit tea. I don't know if you've done it. It tastes really good though. Just adds a little bit of sugar. Honey lemon, you know, the things that you would typically take, but these are things that have been proven to boost your immune system, but not necessarily get rid of COVID.
So speaking about boosting, getting rid of, and curing. So you got tested. You are positive. Whether you stay home, go in a hospital, whether you get real sick, whether you put on a ventilator, which I heard makes patients worse, but we won't get into that. Whatever the case may be, now you're better. You're at home, or they send you home.
Mm-hmm.
this cured word, are you cured? Are you still, because they say you only got to be quarantined and then the symptoms go away. So what exactly is still in your body? Or do you still have these coronavirus things floating around in your body forever? Do they eventually go away? So when are you actually cured or COVID free?
So more research is definitely being done on that, but typically you have these antibodies that come up over a certain time. The antibodies are a way for scientists and researchers to measure the immune response to COVID. So one of the questions going around right now is like, once I get COVID, will I get it again? Is there a chance I'll get it again? As I said, more research is being done into that, because remember, COVID, or what we know as COVID-19, is this current strain. And there have been people who have, overcome the virus, so to speak, and not have had it again. There are people who've reported to have it again. But once those cases were investigated even more, it's due to like the turnaround time. So they were asymptomatic, or they didn't show as many symptoms, and then they were tested and they were positive. And depending on the time you're testing, it might seem like you're getting it again. But the real question is, once the fall season comes, with like the cold season and now the flu season, there's a possibility that COVID-19 might become like COVID-20. I don't know. It
So
might.
kind of like the flu, how it's different strains every year.
Exactly. So the flu, there's 5 strains, there are 5 different strains of the flu. And with the flu, I mean, although they're different strains, the flu is the flu, right? You can get the flu more than once, but is it a different strain or is it the same strain? So those are all the questions that we're having with COVID, because we're not sure if when you get a different strain, you'll still get COVID, or if because you got COVID-19 and you were, one time you're immune to it. So those are the answers that we're hoping to get.
So as of right now, besides the people who say they relapsed when really the testing window probably wasn't full yet, and therefore it just seemed like they relapsed, has there been anyone who has had COVID, been out of that window, and then re-gotten it so far?
To my knowledge, there have not been any of cases like that. But there have been cases where the testing window and the timing of the testing window may have made it seem like the person got COVID twice. But once those cases were investigated more thoroughly, they found out that person is the same original positive test that they had. So
okay, and so really quick, because really I'm actually going over, but you guys, we all want this information. So when it comes to our kids, right, the babies in the population, there's a whole bunch of mixed messages there as well. So there's the kids can't get it, or they don't really get it hard, but they are carriers, just like the age group between, I think they say like 30 and 50 or something. We carry and we pass it to the older generation and stuff like that. So are kids getting COVID? Is their COVID different from our COVID, where it's not really affecting the lungs as much, but their hearts? These type of things. What does youth COVID look like?
So COVID for youth still exists. It's not any different from adults, in the sense that the symptoms are the same. The reason why not a lot of people talk about the youth and COVID is because there are just lower and fewer cases as compared to your 20 to 30-year-old adults versus your 40 to 50-year-old adults and people over the age of 50. So there are cases that are out there. If anyone was to Google, COVID-19 and children, or cases of COVID-19 in children, you'll find that there have been people, between the ages of 10 and 15 who have gotten COVID, and people as young as 7 who have been tested positive for COVID, and they still experience the same symptoms. Now, their symptoms may not be as, you can say, intense as some of the older adults, and researchers are looking as to why that is, but we're finding that their symptoms might be a bit more mild. but they're still
Probably
getting.
because they deal with more germs than us. Have you ever been into an elementary school lately?
I still know, but I was actually looking at a show the other day that talked about kids and elementary school, and
It's so lovely.
yeah, which now I understand why my mom would always say, "Go and wash your hands," and it's like I could have just been outside for 1 minute. Go wash your hands, and we don't know where your shoes have been, and yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
kids are germy.
Yeah,
I have a few of them, so yeah, they're germy.
yeah, yeah.
So, Michael, I cannot let you go though without you talking about your book.
Yes, yes,
Let's
yeah.
get to it, you guys. You guys, I almost forgot. Michael came out with a book. And just describe that book. And I'm actually going to. You guys have seen the commercial covering that earlier, but let's get into it.
Yeah, so while I was in grad school, I came up with this really cool idea of just wanting to write a book that would talk about what success meant to me, but it's designed in a way to encourage anybody who wants that jump start for where they are in their life to really just chase after those goals and those dreams. So I was actually working full time, the night shift at a hospital, pushing patient beds while I was writing this book and going to school doing my master's degree full time, during the day. So I was working a full-time job and going to school full-time and still writing this book. And for me, this book was like a testament to the fact that, hey, it seems impossible, but it can be done. So the name of the book is Success Begins From Where You Are, which is just what it says. It doesn't matter where you are in life, but if you take it to begin with the very point in your existence, that's success. You're starting. Success things, a lot of people think about success as the end result, but I think about it as the journey. The journey from A to B and B to C, because it's a continuous journey. You're always trying to be the better version of yourself. And I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. So
Indeed. So you
and
never arrive because you can always improve.
if you believe that you've arrived, then I feel like you're selling yourself short, because that's saying you're stopping when there's so much more that
Yeah.
you haven't. There's not one person that they may believe they've done everything they have in life, but trust me, just when you think you've done it all, there's so much more to do. So yes.
So I love talking to people about mindset and how to get from point A to point B, right? And a lot of people think that they cannot do it because of how they were or where they were born, their economical conditions, where they live, their network, who they know, who they don't know. So did were you born in any type of situation that puts you ahead of the game? So if not, how did you get from point A to point B? What was the mindset?
My parents they're from the Caribbean. Shout out to the Caribbean people out there. But they really just had this mindset of working hard, and education meant a lot to them because they saw it as a gateway to expose yourself to what you don't know. And for me, I just saw it as education as a way to, as I said, know what I don't know, but also to challenge myself and my mindset to even rise above the things that I didn't like or didn't want to understand, such as statistics, taking courses like that, or like taking a course in business management. These are things that I'm not naturally gifted in, but I saw those courses like, hey, this is a way to even challenge my mind to learn something. Even if I might not use it as often, I still have used things from both statistics and business management in my personal life. So just the mindset of just overcoming, I think that's what my parents instilled in me. I never really grew up in a house where I had it all. No, never had it all. Both my parents came from the Caribbean with nothing and came here to America, had me. But their mindset is really what I'm using today to kind of say that you can start with nothing and end up with something, and then turn that something into everything. But it's one day at a time, that seed you plant to take you from higher steps, take you to higher steps.
And you actually said just keep putting one foot in front of the other, which is what I always say. Just keep moving forward. Yep. That has helped you in getting, because you got, what was it, the Bill and Melinda Gates scholarship?
Yeah, I got the Bill and Melinda Gates scholarship, Gates Millennium Scholarship. and got that in high school at the end of my senior year of high school. And that really helped me because I mean that is the scholarship that paid for my undergraduate and graduate tuition. So
Wow, both. See,
both.
you guys, he wasn't born with a way to just pay it and come out debt free. He actually earned that scholarship, and
Yeah.
you still speak for them on that about that scholarship. Do you help advocate for that?
Yeah, so from time to time, they have like an alumni association that
Hmm.
I'm recently did a blurb with them about like the journey of getting here, and then there's another uh, foundation. I'm going to shout out the National College Resources Foundation. They're based in Los Angeles, but every year we do a tour, a nationwide tour, and they go to like Texas, Florida, Maryland, DC, California. And what we do is we speak to youth, and these are high school youth and predominantly minority, just to encourage them about the opportunities that exist out there, and why it's important not to settle, because a lot of people, especially youth, I mean, they don't know what they don't know,
Yeah, true.
because if I never was exposed to healthcare, I don't know what I'd be doing. I might be in music. And you see a piano behind me. I love
Mhm.
I love to play it. So I might have done music, or I might have just, you know, I always like speaking. So I might have just been doing the speaking full time. But you don't know what you don't know. So the more you expose yourself to opportunities, the more you are well-rounded, because you'll know your passion will become purposeful. I
Yeah,
like,
and evident because you were exposed. So
yeah,
let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Where do you see yourself? Because you're still young, you have a career, but where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, 10 years? Do you always want to be at the NIH? Do you want to retire from there? Will you eventually dabble on your keyboard in something, or become a public speaker? Yeah, what do you want to do?
So I I'll paint it like this. I'm doing my doctoral degree right now. I want to finish that and work in public health for at least 5 to 10 years, because it's always been my dream to uh, see that representation matters. The higher up people go in the workforce, they may sometimes see less minorities in leadership positions. And I personally don't see a lot of minorities in leadership positions at the NIH and other federal sectors. So I would love to kind of just be in that circle, in that bubble. But after that, I would love to, continue speaking about positivity and being an influence. Being a public speaker is also something that I love to do. So if my journey shifted towards doing that full time, I would not mind at all, being a public speaker and really pouring into youth, pouring into our future. And then even a mixture of the two, doing things like this, being a public health correspondent, talking about the matters at hand, but still talking to youth about what it means to be successful. And the reason I always say youth is because I believe that they're the future. So,
Indeed.
you can change the mind of adults, yes, but you can even have a greater impact on youth who are trying to answer the questions that are in their hearts. So that's how I feel.
Absolutely. And I do a lot of things for the youth as well, because I do believe they are the future.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we actually ever answered or got to the question about some of the roadblock blocks or obstacles, and how did you get there? Because there's not a lot of minorities in leadership, especially in the federal government. So did you come up against anything in particular, or just systematic, that has helped you get where you are, or that is keeping you from where you want to go?
Kobe Bryant, I miss that guy. Kobe had that mentality, that Mamba mentality. And I would look at so many of his interviews, and he would always say, you can't make any excuses. Like, even if something bad happens to you, don't use that as an excuse. Just attack it. Attack it, be fearless and attack, and be relentless in your fearlessness.
Mhm.
Be relentless in that. So for me, yes, I came up with systematic, I guess you could say oppression. I mean, oppression is a heavier word, but there were discrepancies that I had systematically against me, and I had to fight those things. But one of the things that helped me to get to where I am is that I never gave up. I never gave up. I was like, I get into this mode that when someone tells me that I can't do something or I'm not going to be good at something, I got to prove them wrong.
Indeed.
It's like, it makes me want to just fight even more, you know? So those things were in my heart to just continue to where I am today.
Cool. My cats are fighting, don't mind me. But I agree with that because I'm a fighter too. And I don't know if that comes from being an underdog or being an athlete or something like that. But it's just like, you tell me I can't do something, then I'm going to definitely do it. Even if it's not even a big priority for me, just to slap you in the face with it.
Yeah. You know, they always say, oh, don't be petty. But I mean, like, hey, if you're going to be petty enough to tell me that I can't do something, I can be petty enough to tell you that I can.
Yeah, definitely. So, Michael, let me ask you, how do people find you, follow you, read your books? Like what?
Yeah, so social media, number one, I'm always on Instagram and Facebook. So just type in Michael H. Forde. And that's Forde with an E, so that's Forde. My book is available on my website for free. Right now, I actually made a decision to do it for free because there are a lot of people asking me for the book, but sometimes they didn't know how to get it. They weren't sure if they had the funds or, you know, and then I realized that my purpose is to leave the most positive impact. So I made the book available for free, but people can also purchase the paperback copy. So that's michaelhford.com. That's www.michaelhford.com. And then they can also connect with me on Twitter, YouTube. You know, I guarantee I'm probably on almost every social media platform now. I've had so many, but Instagram, Facebook, and my website are the top three. So,
well, I don't want to keep you all day. I know we're both working from home, but that's, you know, still be respectful of your time. So I definitely want to appreciate you coming on to the show today and giving us all of the information that you have given us. Yeah. It was a pleasure, as always.
It was so fun. It was so fun. Definitely enjoyed it. And hey, I look forward to more things in the future.
Absolutely. We definitely have to do this again and delve into your book and dissect it and do that and talk more about the publishing because, you know, there's a lot of people who want to be authors as well. There's a lot of people who want to be in public health. There's people who want to be authors. I mean, you just come from a wealth of experience, and then we definitely have to get together on the youth aspect as well. So definitely, Michael, I appreciate you. You guys, I appreciate you for tuning in to Get It Got It Good. As always, you can follow me at Get It Got It Good G3 on all social media platforms. You can also follow me personally at Naja, NYSIA, Wilhite, WILHITE, or Carter, you know, because I'm both. I'm Naja Wilhite Carter, you know, it is what it is. Thank you to my networks, WBGR Entertainment, Health and Wellness Channel, and Total Entertainment Radio. You guys, if you want to link to both of these networks, go to my website at najacarter.com. Until next time, Michael, thank you once again for being here. Everyone else, nothing but love for you.
Thank you.
Baby, lay your head down on my pillow. Let me wipe away your tears. Baby, everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. You ain't gotta worry about a thing. I will be right by your side. Baby, everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. I remember the very first time that I saw you. Pretty little thing in my homeroom. Said you just moved from Atlanta. I could tell you about your business and I had to get to know you. Cause girl, I can tell you've been wishing for a love with no conditions. And no, I ain't scared of commitment. So let me give you what you miss.